Hey, what's up? It's Tati. Let's talk Collision. It was très magnifique. I loved it. Now, we did have a squash match that kind of fell out of place, but other than that, it was a really great night to watch wrestling. Obviously, it seemed like more people were watching No Mercy. Every time I checked on social media, there was more people talking about that over Collision. Now, before I do get into the results, I need to call somebody out, and that's Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega. This is not about me asking for the millionth time if you're single or whatever. This is about a picture that was taken of you a few days ago. Now, on Dynamite, we had a segment where Uncle Don and Takeshita went to Japan so they can whoop Kota Ibushi's ass. I was okay with that. Now, today, here is a picture of Kenny Omega in Japan filming Uncle Don and Takeshita in Japan. What the hell is this? Now, I was like, is this fake? Is this Photoshop? And it looks very, very real to me. Look, a couple of days ago, the word kayfabe was added onto the Webster Dictionary. And honestly, in 2023, that definitely doesn't really mean much. Um, why was it you to film this out of everyone else that could have filmed this? There are obviously wrestling fans in Japan. How the hell did they think that they were going to be able to film this out in the open with Kenny Omega, who's supposed to be beefing with them? I don't know. But let's get into the results. This was a very good show. So our opening match was Andrade El Idolo versus Juice Robinson. And yes, the guns were out there. Switchblade, Jay White definitely was not there since he had got attacked on Dynamite. This was a really great opener. Yes, we had interference from the guns throughout this match. And it got to the point where the crowd is over it, and finally the referee sees them getting involved in the match and told them to get their ass right to the back. We do not want some interference. Now, I really do enjoy seeing both these guys in the ring, and I'm glad to see Andrade actually having this run on his own, even though I feel like he does need to have some friends, a little entourage. I wouldn't mind seeing him with LFI still, but with him going against Bullet Club Gold, we are seeing some really great matches from Andrade, and I'm really glad that he's back with AEW. After the Guns get their asses to the back, Andrade does end up taking the win, and then we see that we have CJ Perry watching from backstage. She is scouting, looking for someone to manage, and honestly, I don't know if I want to see her managing Andrade. I would have to see this to see if this is something that I would actually like. Now we have Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. They are backstage. Kenny Omega says he got Chris Jericho back and he hopes Chris Jericho will do the same. And Chris Jericho says he will. So, yeah, you have to tune in to see if that actually happened. Now, the next match, we do have the Best Friends versus the Kingdom. This was a very good tag team match. I really enjoyed this. Now, when the Kingdom comes out, they're actually coming out with their luggage. And I'm just like, well, what is going on? Did y'all show up late or what? Now, they do have a really great match with the Best Friends. This is definitely one of the most fun tag team matches I've seen in quite some time. Now, I've been saying for a long time that the Kingdom have definitely been putting in the work in, especially in Ring of Honor. So it's nice to see them on AEW getting the recognition that they deserve as a tag team. I'm really, really hoping that after MJF, that it will be the Kingdom to get those titles off of him. Now, we do have the Kingdom end up taking this win, and it's really interesting because after this match, we find out why they had the bags with them, and it's because they are flying directly to Roderick's house to go check on him. And before they leave, they tell Adam Cole to join them to go meet Roderick. That is important. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with that. Why do they need Adam to go over there and meet Roderick? Is something going to happen when he gets there? Who knows? I know a lot of people are still speculating that the people who had attacked Jay White the other night were Roderick and the Kingdom. I don't really think so, but it'll be interesting to know what exactly is going on there. So will Adam end up going to Roderick's house? We'll find out soon enough. Now we have Uncle Don, and he is with Prince Nana backstage. They look like they're coming up with a grandmaster plan, especially since Prince Nana will be ringside with Gates of Agony during their match with Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. So I'm guessing they're coming up with something to not just only win the match, but to make sure that they won't be 100% at Wrestle Dream. Now, next we have Julia Hart versus Vert Vixen. I was really excited to see her. She's definitely been making a name for herself in the indie scene. And I think she was on Ring of Honor, I want to say twice this year. She's a phenomenal wrestler. However, she's definitely not an AEW wrestler. So she's only out there to make Julia look good, which she actually does help Julia look really good going into this match. But if you've never seen Britt Vixen in a match before, this I would not recommend if you're trying to see how great of a wrestler she is. This does not do her justice at all. This was only just to put Julia Hart over. Julia wins. Now, when Julia wins, she calls out Chris Statlander. She said, "Look here, bitch, I cannot wait until tomorrow night. Let's do this right now." So she's in the ring with Brody King. So here comes Chris Statlander. She comes out with the best friends and Rocky Romero. They all make it to the ring. Now, obviously, Chris Statlander have to have some reinforcements with her because Brody King is as big as all three of those guys together anyway. So it's best for her to bring some of her friends along too. Now, at some point, all the guys get out the ring without even touching each other. So now it's just Julia and Chris in the ring. However, Chris, she just seems to be real fired up, but Julia don't want no smoke and ends up leaving. Now, Chris has the mic, and Chris is basically letting her know that she's going to beat her. And she said, "You're not only going to be a champion, you're going to be the defeater of the undefeated," obviously beating Jay Cargill. And when she said that, I kind of felt like, I don't know, something about it just felt a little out of place. But either way, she's trying to make a statement, and I'm interested to see where this goes. Many people don't know this, but the last time Julia lost a match was against Chris Statlander. So she's on a 20 match streak, something like that, 20 something match streak. So she's going to go against Chris Statlander again, and this time she's definitely going to want to beat her. So that's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So next they announced that we have another show added for the pre-show, and that's going to be Claudio Castagnoli versus Josh Barnett. Holy smokes, that's going to be so good. Now, we do have up next Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega versus the Gates of Agony, and obviously Prince Nana is ringside. Now, we do have Prince Nana who is getting involved in the match physically. And it's so funny because every time he touches Chris Jericho or Kenny Omega, he act like he's all big and bad, but then he gets all spooked and scared and runs away. Okay, this was a really great match. I had a lot of fun with this. Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega are definitely in the same page throughout this match, and so is Gates of Agony. They've been tagging for quite some time now, and they kind of got a formula down pat. However, it was just not enough for them to take the win against Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. Chris Jericho takes the win for his team with a Lion Tamer onto Khan. Bishop Khan, if you need someone to tend to your wounds, give me a call. I'm available. After the match, we do have Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. They get on the mic, and Chris Jericho is like, "Look, you see the Alpha and the Omega? They can coexist together in the ring, and you just saw it just now in that match." Now, Kenny gets on the mic, sort of kind of dismiss what Chris says by just kind of brushing that off and just being like, "Look, this is not about us. This is about Uncle Don and how he spent $30,000 to go to Japan the other day to beat up someone that I care about." And I'm just like, "Oh, it's $30,000 because you obviously had a ticket in that." I don't know, you guys. It was really strange to hear $30,000 for a freaking flight. That's insane. I'll stay home. That sounds like a down payment on a house. Now, they're obviously got their eyes set on getting revenge on Don Callis, both Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. So I'm really interested in seeing how Sammy and Will Ospreay gonna do during that match, because I really do feel like tensions between those two are going to um, be a factor in this match. So I do think that Chris Jericho's team is going to take the win. Up next, we have the Righteous in a squash match. I didn't even get a chance to hear who the opponents were. It was over super quick. And after the match, they have a message for MJF. And I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't hear them that well because they were getting booed out the building and they were getting shut the fuck up chants. You know what? I like that. That's the type of heat you want to generate. Now, after they get all booed and everything, they decide to take one of their opponents and end up breaking his leg just like Adam Cole. That's what they said. Obviously, his leg's not broken or whatever, but um, to be honest, I like the Righteous. I really do. I personally, since watching Ring of Honor, since they started, I don't really feel like they should have been next in line for the titles. But I'm really glad that they are on AEW TV because I really feel like we just don't have too much tag teams in AEW. And the same could be said for Ring of Honor, but I like that they're getting some TV time with AEW. So I cannot wait to see what's going to happen tomorrow night. But once again, back-to-back squash matches like this doesn't do any service to the Righteous at all. All right, you guys. So we do have one more match that's added onto the pre-show, and that's going to be Luchasaurus versus Nick Wayne. That's going to be interesting. It sounds like we have a massacre on our hands. Now, for the main event, we do have FTR with Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta versus Aussie Open, Ricky Starks, and Big Bill. Holy moly, everybody that I like is really in this match, heel or not. These are some of the top names in AEW, and everybody came out to play. So this was a really great main event. Now they are in Seattle, and what's his name? Bryan Danielson. He's from Aberdeen, but that's close enough to Seattle. So everybody's wanting him to get in this match. They kept him out of this match until about 5 minutes before the show was over. The crowd kept chanting, "We want Bryan, we want Bryan." They avoided him like the plague almost the entire match. Now, it's so funny to see that Bryan and Wheeler are baby faces in this match. Like, I have to tell myself that they're the baby faces because we've been seeing them as heels for quite some time, and it just almost feel like I'm telling myself a lie by saying that they're baby faces right now. Now, I gotta give props to everybody here. Everybody here is really, really strong in this match. So for me personally, I didn't really care who was going to take the win. I just want things to make sense and a story to be told here. Now, Ricky Starks is still being a major douchebag, and we like that with him right now. And I'm very, I don't know where they're going with the whole thing with him and BCC, because he got a match with Wheeler Yuta tomorrow. So I'm guessing the whole thing with him and Bryan is over. Now, the ending of this match was kind of confusing. We do have Big Bill and Vicky, and then we have God, what's his name? Dax. They are in the ring. And then Ricky and Big Bill, they do this combination finisher of a choke slam / spear. Maybe it sounds cool with me saying it, but I do believe they need to work on it a little bit so it could be a little bit more clean. The delivery wasn't perfect. Now, when they do this, Ricky gets on top of Dax, ref is counting, and here comes Cash Wheeler, who does come in the ring to break the pin. Now, what he does is he grabs onto Dax's leg, and I believe Dax was supposed to kick out. However, Dax did not flinch for 1 second, and he just laid out there like he was passed out, and the referee counted, and everybody in the ring just seemed to be really surprised about this, like genuinely surprised about Ricky actually taking that win. It was a little confusing if that was supposed to happen or not. Either way, Ricky does get the pin for his team. If that was an accident, it was a good accident because that helps Ricky be more of a heel in a sense. Now, after this match, Aussie Open, they snatch up Dax and they go for a Coriolis. And right when they were doing that, Everybody just start fighting, and I'm liking that. I'm liking that everybody's fighting. And I forgot to mention, we do have Zack Sabre Jr. He is on commentary. He is just looking like a snack. Now, while all that is happening and everybody's fighting, here comes Brian Danielson. Brian Danielson pretty much abandons the whole fight with everybody, and he stands in the ring and he points directly at Zack Sabre Jr. And oh my God, my heart is beating quickly. So now Brian and Zach are staring at each other. Brian points over to Zach, and Zach says, "Hello, darling," with his British accent. And let me just say something about the British accent. They could be cursing you out the most dirtiest words, and it sounds so proper, like they're actually being nice at the same time. It was absolutely hilarious. Now, Brian gestures for him to get his ass in the ring, and then Zach gets to the ring and they're staring down at each other. The fight is still going on with the rest of them, but nobody cares about that. Now, they're looking at each other, and Zach pushes Brian. Then Brian slaps Zach, and then now it looks like they're about to start having a brawl. Now, Brian ends up snatching up his arm, Zach's arm, and he's about to go for a label lock. And just when I'm thinking that, holy crap, he's going to lock that shit in, then Zach runs out the ring, makes a break for it. And I am so pumped to see these two guys in the ring. I am absolutely crushed that these two guys are not going to be the main event at Wrestle Dream. It's actually going to be Christian Cage versus Darby Allin as the main event. I do not know why. Well, Darby's from Seattle. Okay, great. But honestly, something that we've actually already seen before and quite recently is going to be the main event. Y'all better have something special in store for us for this to be the main event, because really I do feel like it should be Zach versus Brian for the main event. Something we have not seen before. Something between two guys that are arguably some of the best in the business. I would have preferred that to be the main event. But guys, thanks so much for watching my review. I will be back tomorrow with Wrestle Dream. I cannot wait.